Welcome to the Grandma Appreciation Society, GAS. Over here at GAS, we recognize grandmas for what they are, the very pillars of a culture's culinary identity, the source of ancient, mystic cooking knowledge. They possess the ability to make food that's good beyond the description of mere words. But each grandma is unique. Each grandma has her own philosophy. And because I'm not a grandma myself, today I'm gonna try to learn from the grandmas. I asked you guys to give me your grandma's favorite recipes, and I'm gonna try to make some of them today. See if I can tap into some of your grandma's magic. Jesus. So let's start with our first recipe from Grandma Maria. This is Grandma Maria's yemista. Yemista is a dish consisting of stuffed tomatoes and peppers. The submission said this dish has its roots in Turkish cuisine but has found its way to Greece, where Grandma Maria is from. So we're gonna take some bell peppers and some big beefy tomatoes and decapitate them. I'm scooping out the insides of these tomatoes because I'm gonna need them later. Also, Grandma Maria instructed us to put olive oil in everything, which is part of my theory of why grandma food is so good. The liberal use of salt and fat. Grandma's not gonna shy away from adding a bunch of oil to everything. Grandmas don't care about macros. They care about making food that tastes good. And speaking of oil, I'm gonna cook some red onion in a bunch of olive oil until it's soft and fragrant. I'm adding some ground beef and I'm cooking that down nicely with salt and pepper. And I'm also gonna add a bunch of rinsed short grain rice, as well as a lot of mint and parsley. Now I'm adding the tomato mixture from before, just a bit of water, because as it's cooking down, the rice needs to soak up some liquid. And where is the rice gonna cook? Well, inside these vegetables, which is such a lovely thought. Just that meaty rice filling soaking up all the flavor from the vegetables as they roast. Added more olive oil and more salt, and after about 90 minutes in the oven, I got this. Just amazing smells, amazing color all around. The veggies are soft and roasty, and the mixture on the inside is moist, but definitely not mushy. It smells really good. I love that roasty pepper smell. Whoa. That's really special. And it has such a grandma vibe, you know, like this is a thing that only a grandma would make. It's so delicious. This filling somehow became like almost jammy. I think basically the rice cooked and it released that starch all around the filling. Thank you so much, Grandma Maria. Our second submission comes from Grandma Ella, all the way from Poland. This is called pampuchi. What a silly name. And it's a soft, steamed bun. And it's pretty easy to make, although there is a bit of patience involved. At first I made the yeast mixture. Yeast is one of those words that is very hard for me to pronounce as a not native English speaker. Anyway, some fresh yeast, some sugar, flour, and some warm milk. And I let this sit in a warm spot for the yeast to start working a little bit. You know, gotta get in the mood with you. In the meantime, I prepared the dough, which is surprisingly simple. It's just flour, salt, milk, and water, followed by the now frothy yeast mixture which we made before. And after mixing and then kneading for a good while, the dough goes from sticky to elastic and soft and kind of squishy. I let it rest in the bowl for a while for it to rise. After that I took it out, and it was so squishy. And I used it to shape 4 balls, 4 future buns. And I was quite surprised that this is Polish. I always associated steamed buns with Asian cuisine, specifically Chinese, with the famous bao. Look at these big boys. But turns out Poland has also been on the steamed bun game for a while. I was instructed to eat this with warm fruit or some sort of jam. I went with jam because that's my jam. This thing is so fluffy. Dip it in the jam. Woo! Ella, I love your buns. Ella, I'd love to be your grandson. I don't think that's how this video works. Very comforting, very fun. I love it. You can feel the grandma love in this dish. Now this submission was a bit of an oddball because I couldn't really find any information about this. This person's unnamed grandma makes something called Spanish tostón de antequera. And this is what I was instructed to do. Basically, pour some freshly squeezed orange juice into a deep plate, add a pinch of salt and a good amount of olive oil. Again, this is proof of my theory. Oil and salt is what it takes. Toast some bread, and this is the part that confused me a little bit. In big chunks, dip it in the juice with a spoon and eat it. One of the best comfort foods on a hot summer's day. Now, is this actually what I'm supposed to do? I couldn't find anything about this recipe online, so you're either making this up or this is that hidden secret grandma knowledge I was talking about. Honestly, even if you made this up, this is quite amazing. Oh my God. This is the kind of thing that I can see myself enjoying as a kid. Honestly, you should try this. Okay, our next submission reads as follows. So this may not be the best recipe from my grandma, mi yaya, but I think it's the most unique since I never saw it anywhere else. Pollo a la cerveza, beer-style chicken. We take some chicken drumsticks, salt them, and we're gonna add them to a pot just to sear them a little bit for color. After that, we remove them and add onion and garlic, and just saute that until it's nice and sauteed and fragrant. Then add the chicken back and proceed to cover the whole thing with a big can of beer. Apparently, the cheaper the beer, the better. So if you ever want to cook something for a bunch of Dutch frat boys, this is it. Those motherfuckers go crazy over cheap beer. Now all we have to do is simmer this down and reduce the beer into a sauce. And we do that by waiting a little bit. Now, I wasn't super happy with the color of the chicken, so I also stuck it in the oven a little bit under the broiler for a couple minutes. Don't tell Yaya, okay? Just to get that skin crispy. I'm sure she would be happy with that. I want to give this sauce a taste. A lot of flavor, but quite a bitter aftertaste. And I think I was instructed to add a bunch of lemon to counteract the bitterness. Yeah, it should have removed the bitterness. I served this over steamy, warm jasmine rice, my favorite. And as I'm spooning this sauce over it, just makes you forget it was straight up just a can of beer before. Oh, so juicy. Thank you, Grandma. And even the slight bitterness, I kind of am into it. Our last recipe comes from a grandma whose name we weren't provided with because the author never calls her by her name, which actually makes sense. But they do call her Bà Ngoại. So that's what we're going with. First, we take some minced pork, add some sliced green onion, and season with fish sauce, ground black pepper, and salt. We're also gonna beat up some eggs into a bowl and season with salt, pepper, and fish sauce. And now it's as simple as sauteing that seasoned pork in a hot skillet, as well as some finely diced shallots, and then adding our egg. Apparently it's very important for the top of the omelet to still be a little juicy, so I'm gonna give it a good vigorous stir until it settles, but not flip it. Instead, I'm just transferring this directly on a nice mound of steamed jasmine rice, my favorite, and that's pretty much it. Great. And I think you're absolutely right. It's essential that the top of this is kind of juicy. I think today I proved once and for all that grandmas know some shit about cooking. So if your grandma's still around, go give her a hug and just tell her that you love her. And maybe learn a thing or two about cooking. Grandma Appreciation Society. Gas.